Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, let's discuss the possible ways to fetch the data in Next.js. Fetching meaning like getting the data from the backend, whether it is the database or directly hitting the REST endpoint, or the different ways to fetch the data and display on the page, or pushing the data from the UI to the backend. So data fetching is a vital part of any application, and there are different ways to fetch the data in Next.js application. So the first one is get static props using getStaticProps, which is of client-side rendering methodology in Next.js, and in this particular method, whatever the logic that we put inside the get static props, it will be called during the build time, and the response of this particular API method will be serialized as a JSON, and it is available at the build time. So as soon as the page is rendered on the UI, the page is going to load faster because the content and the page is already pre-rendered at the server when the build is running. So that's why this is a fetching strategy, and it is one of the fastest fetching strategy. It is useful only if the content is not changing often, and more like, for example, if there is something like blog post kind of a application where you want to display the list of blogs, and to get this type of data, get static props is optimal. So the second one is get server side props. So this is one of the second way to fetch the data in Next.js, and so get server side props, it will pre-render the pages on each request. So usually when the user navigate to that specific page, that's when it will make the request to the server and fetch the page as a pre-rendered page, and it will get that and parse on the browser and render onto the browser. So that's how it will work. So it is more of a dynamic in nature. So if you have a scenario where you want to fetch the data on demand, or the data is frequently changing and you want to get the updates continuously onto the page, for that type of scenario you have to use get server side props. So this is optimal for dynamic data. So the third one is SWR library, which is stale while revalidate. That means, so every time when the user requests for that particular page, so it will fetch the data from the cache, which is of stale cache, and then once it is served to the browser, then it will send the fetch request to the backend and fetch the updates if there are any available on the database side, and again it will update the cache with the new data. That means every time when the user access the page, first content that is going to be displayed is of a cache data, and if there is a update, it will get and update the data. But if there is no update, the performance of this particular page is going to be much better compared with server side rendering, because cache is almost much faster and it will return right away. But in worst case situation, if the data is not available, if the data in the cache is outdated and there are some updates on the server side or maybe on the database side, to get that data and display, it is little bit time taking, and the performance point of view in this scenario, it is little bit slow. So the last one is client-side data fetching. So as part of this client-side data fetching, we can directly make the API call from the component itself using use effect hook, and get the data and pass the data to the component to use it. So for this particular scenario, either we can use the fetch library or any other library other than fetch. We can use it and make the call in the use effect lifecycle hook within the component itself. So these are the four possible ways to fetch the data in Next.js.